Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time for Edward. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics, reactions, re-reviews, commentaries, whatever you, randomness topics, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under pretty much any of these videos. Now this is for South Park Season 10 Episodes 12 and 13, which is a two-parter. It's a two-parter where episode 12 is a bit of the build-up, and episode 13, there's two things going on. There's Miss Garrison, at this point, the teacher, refusing to teach evolution to the kids. Because while there's a semblance of God that Miss Garrison believes in, Miss Garrison thinks that evolution is stupid, and as she's talking to the class, going, "Oh yeah, this is like monkey had butt sex with some fish squirrel thing, and this is where you guys came from, and this is all stupid." So the teachers don't like, principals doesn't like his behavior, so they get Richard Dawkins. Now Richard Dawkins is a real teacher of evolution. Now of course they don't get him to voice the character, but it is supposed, that guy does exist. But you know, he was not happy with his portrayal in this. Because for most part, it's either him teaching and then going on a date with Miss Garrison and fucking Miss Garrison and not realizing that Miss Garrison was a man who had a sex change operation. On the flip side, Cartman is wanting a Wii. This is when the Wii video game system was coming out, and he's got to wait a couple weeks, about 3 weeks, and he can't do it, so he decides to freeze himself. People of course call him stupid for doing that. Just wait, be patient. But he gets Butters, so I always like to see Butters in there to help him freeze on the mountainside. And then in the middle of it, after Butters has left, an avalanche happens, buries Cartman, and then goes to pretty much a parody of Buck Rogers. Because he just transported, he's frozen and he wakes up in 2546. And, I mean, the way this episode 13, the second of this two-part opens, is like the Buck Rogers in the 25th century in that show. With, you know, the type of characters and music, and I'm not a guy that's the most familiar with Buck Rogers. Like, I know of it, I've seen clips of it and pictures of it, so I get what it was referencing, but because I didn't watch much of it, it was like a big impactful, oh wow, it was more like, okay, that's cute type of motif. So at the end of episode 12, the first is two parts, kind of a build up to that, and then the second part, episode 13, is mostly Cartman in the future. I would say that stuff was more interesting to me. The stuff with Miss Garrison and this Richard Dawkins guy and their dating and evolution, I wasn't really interested in that. I just used to say it was a means to an end, because when Cartman gets to the future, there's all these wars, but it's not religious wars, it's logic and reason wars, where everyone's an atheist. And I just want to understand these episodes were made because I just at one point Penn Jillette or someone assumed that the guys at South Park were atheists, and when they found out, I guess Penn Jillette or someone said, "Oh, well, that's disappointing." I just this whole thing where atheists or people that teach evolution, okay, you have logic and reason, but as they put in episode 13, you're also being a dick to anyone who doesn't think like you. I found that a bit hypocritical, because isn't that what Trey Parker and Matt Stone do all the time? If you don't think like us, then we don't be a dick. Again, I'm sitting there going, you guys are doing, you're in the same boat. So, again, aren't you hypocritical on that? I don't know, has there ever been a show that parodies South Park, like how South Park would parody others? Like how what South Park did to Family Guy. Is there any show or movie that did that to South Park? Well, again, I do think that's one of the flaws is a lot of times they preach stuff that they become very hypocritical about. Like that in point. Again, I'm like, you guys are addicted to people or things that don't think like you either. But maybe maybe that's just me. So, like I said, episode 12, the stuff with Miss Garrison and the teacher, Richard Dawkins, I didn't care. Didn't interest me. Maybe because Garrison as a character, I'm very indifferent on. Okay, yeah, a big sex change operation, whoop-de-doo. Like, if it serves the character serves its purpose. I'm fine with the character as it serves its purpose, but I can't say I really enjoy. Oh wow, I can't wait for the next Garrison episode. The stuff with Cartman was fun though. There's a bit you to relate to, and being impatient and waiting for something to come out. In this case, a video game system and other stuff where like there's a little montage where Cartman's trying to sleep. He's in these different positions. He's doing all this stuff, and he looks at the clock, and only like 2 minutes have gone by. Well, I would say of episode 12, that was to be the best parts of the episode. And like I said, as always, I see Butters in there because I've really grown to enjoy Butters as a character. Of course, Butters would be the one to help Cartman out. And then later on, when he realizes that Cartman might be dead, like the way Butters reacts to that, and I thought it was a very funny reaction. I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but I thought that stuff was fun. Oh, hamburgers! Butters doesn't want to curse. And let's say episode 12 ends with Cartman in the future, where there's all these different types of groups, including alien species that are sea otters, that ride ostriches. And you get a taste of that, and going more in episode 13, it was fun to see what the background artists and such were able to do with the future sequences. Because that's in animation, you let your creativity fly with that. So again, like sea otters riding ostriches. Okay, that's kind of a funny visual to witness. And like I said, the episode 30 with the whole Buck Rogers type of intro, only it's Cartman. There's a part of me that's like, it'd be fun to see this show with Cartman and this kind of future setting with all sorts of crazy stuff. I would actually like to see it had to be like Cartman and Butters. Like if Cartman and Butters went into the future and they're going through all this stuff, but you do it the South Park sense of humor way, but you have all this future, and you have references to Alien and Blade Runner and all these other sci-fi films. John Carpenter's The Thing. Like do all that, Star Trek, Star Wars, but then again the South Park type of aesthetic and comedy and Cartman and Butters. I think that would be a very fun show. But sadly, that never came to be. And ultimately, Cartman sees a commercial about prank time phone, where you could call back through time and do these prank calls. And Cartman tries to warn his younger self, his self in the past. No one listens. Ultimately, he's able to call Richard Dawkins and talk about Mr. Garrison. Oh, Mr. Garrison passed away. Listen, I don't care what he wants to call himself after this sex change operation. And that's where Richard Dawkins finds out, what? You were a man once? And then that changes the future. I kind of like that butterfly effect. Like there's a bit where he calls Kyle and Kyle's late for the bus. And then, sorry, that was my computer getting done with something. Cartman, how I put it, like Buck Rogers, there's this sidekick robot. Here it's a dog, but because of butterfly effect, it turns to a cat talking robot. in this case called Kit 9. I get what the guys at South Park were going for, how the isms can lead to wars. And that is a fair point and a true point. So, I do understand that aspect of it. It's just the idea, sometimes it does deem a bit hypocritical where, I don't know, either there are times where they eat a little bit of humble pie or other sorts where, like the whole Al Gore thing, which then, that was, what episode that was? It was quite a few episodes ago where, oh, climate warning, climate change is a myth and all this, and then like many years later they did another episode and they didn't apologize, but they still, it was kind of an apology though. I don't know Richard Dawkins. I don't know if he deserved the treatment or not, if he deserved to be made fun of or not. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable on that. But like I said, that was the stuff that was the least interesting to me. The stuff in the future and Cartman, how he interacts and how he deals with, and how Sarper looks at the future. And like I said, that was fun to see what kind of crazy creative stuff they come up with. Having the, the Buck Rogers theme in there and so forth. Things work out. Time has changed so that there is no, at least at that area, there's no war going on. And Cartman's able to get back. Only they put him back not the 3 weeks left, but like the 2 or so months left until the Wii. And then you get the idea that he hasn't learned his lesson, he's going to try to do it again. I do wish there was more Butters. I think it would have been cool if both him and Butters went there. Like, with the way Butters is and the way he'll agree to do stuff, you, in a way, you probably could buy that Cartman would make Butters, or make Butters believe that, yeah, we could freeze ourselves, it'd be perfectly fine. And the two of them in the future, I think that would have been even better. I think that could have been some really funny stuff, some really funny back and forth stuff. And the way how Butters reacts to some stuff in the future would have been entertaining to see. But that's not the case. Like I said, me not knowing much of anything about Richard Dawkins, some of that flew over my head. So I don't know, kind of different on that. Evolution, I'm like, well, what's wrong with evolution? I guess their point is Stan says something, which I believe is probably how the creators think of it. Well, evolution could be the answer to how, but it doesn't mean it's the answer to why. Meaning, how we became human because evolution, but as to the why, well, why did that happen? Maybe God made it happen. I guess people were surprised that Trey Parker Batstone, they do believe in a higher power, at least to some extent. For what I understand, it could be wrong on that. And there's some people that just, what? Really? You guys? I just because of the sense of humor and the way some of the episodes kind of mock religion, but it's not about mocking religion, but the extremes of it, which that's understandable to do. So I would say at the end of the day, I did not mind it. I didn't like it as much as other two-parter episodes, like the Cartoon Wars. I would say it was much better compared to this. But I said the stuff in the future with Cartman was to me definitely the best part of the two-parter. So that stuff was at least enjoyable. It went by quick enough, and again, with how South Park is and the type of animation it is, it's nice to see a bit of shaking things up and different type of backdrops with the future portions of this two-parter. So that was nice to see. I just wish for more Butters, a lot less of Miss Garrison, because I don't really care about the character. and all that jazz. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.